All right, so we're continuing on with the Freedom PS21 series of service videos. We are going to go ahead and show you the auger motor replacement. So this Freedom PS21 has two auger motors that are in the unit. So we have this one right here that's going to be on the right side while facing the stove. This auger motor delivers fuel from the hopper, churning it through over to the back side here, which it drops to this auger motor, which churns it into the actual burn pot. Let's go ahead and close that window real quick, Nate, just so that we have good, clear audio. So both auger motors actually pull out the exact same way. We're going to focus on this one right here on the left side. So as we get started, let's first go ahead and disconnect the electrical to the motor. Again, always want to make sure the stove is unplugged from the wall anytime that we're working with the circuitry back here. So a really simple plug that's right on the motor. We don't have to follow those wires down to the circuit board. We're simply unplugging it right on the motor. There is only one way that that clip can go in and out. All right, from here we're going to be pulling out these 4 bolts. So if they're tight, nothing wrong with soaking them down with a little bit of WD-40, but otherwise a free wrench like this should work the best. Again, these are metric Allen wrenches that we're using here. There's a couple of different sizes, so it's good to have a full set as you work on the stove and are servicing the auger motor or the auger shaft. Third one right there. I've got one last one right there in the corner. Now I will point out while Nate finishes taking out this bolt, what I have done is I have cleaned out all of the fuel in the hopper. So again, on the PS21 we're going to have a grate that sits on these rivet points right here. You do have to bend that grate a little bit to get it off of those rivet points. So here's this guy inside. As you can see, I had to curl that up, bend it a little bit. It's fairly flexible metal, so we should be able to bend that back when we put it back in. But you do need that out of there to thoroughly be able to clean all the pellets of the auger shaft. The auger shaft is going to be directly connected to the auger motor, and we won't be able to release that until it's out. So have a nice vacuum cleaner handy, scoop as many pellets out as possible, and then as Nate starts to pull out the motor right here, keep that vacuum cleaner handy, as pellets may come on and out right there. So as you can see, here is our motor. We have a set bolt right there that's connecting it to that auger shaft. We also have a small metal mount plate right here that is securing from the motor to the shaft as we bolt it on. So let's go ahead and loosen that set bolt. Same thing, if this is tight for you and you can't seem to crank that off, go ahead and soak that down with a little bit of WD-40 PV Blaster. So we don't have to take the bolt all the way out. As soon as we have it loose, that auger shaft will slide off, just like so. As you can see, this auger shaft goes right onto a grooved kind of area of that shaft. So it's specific where we place that. So we're gonna assume here that we just got a new motor and we're about to pop that back in. So we're gonna go ahead and put the auger shaft back on there. And it's important we pay attention to the placement. So, yeah, as Nate's getting that back on there, we want to leave a small gap right there. We essentially want to have that set bolt directly in the center of that flat groove. So as you can see here, it's probably only about an 1/8 inch gap between the auger shaft and the auger motor plate. But we do want to make sure that we have that gap there. And this is one of those areas, as you just saw, where Nate really cranked down that auger shaft. Obviously the motor is under high torque, high load as it's churning pellets in there. So if there is one bolt that we really do want to crank down when replacing, it is going to be the bolt that connects the auger motor to the auger shaft. Now before we put this back in, I just want to do a close-up inside of here. So as you can see, there's a brass bearing on the opposing side there. And this part of the auger shaft is going to sit inside of that bearing. Over time, that bearing might get worn, and that is a plate on the other side that can be removed and replaced. So if we're noticing slop while we slide the auger shaft in there. That's definitely something that we want to inspect. But right now we're going to go ahead and we're going to get this motor and the shaft slid back in there. Again, be careful of the wiring and so forth. Take your time, have patience. Just like that. Once you get about to that point, you'll start to feel that auger shaft, and then you'll feel it go into that brass bushing area. Yep, and then motor on the left side, just like that as you're facing it. And again, with the auger motor here, we just want to gently put those bolts in place until we've got all four, and then we go ahead and snug those up. Great. So all of them are in place. We're just going to go ahead and get those nice and snug down. Don't need to over crank these. Just want them nice and tight, nice and snug. Good, one last one to go. Yeah, it's important to evenly tighten the motor down. So, yeah, kind of like you did the lug nuts on your car. It's good to just kind of slowly thread them in and then go diagonals on that and get them all snugged up so everything's nice and even inside of there. So that is going to be the replacement auger motor. Last thing Nate's going to do is just take that wire and he is going to pop it right back in that electrical port right there. Again, there's only one way that goes in. It's a simple push fit that's in there, just like that. And that is the replacement of the auger motor inside of the Freedom Independence PS21. The exact same system is going to take place for this rear auger motor should you need to pull that out or replace that. So thanks again for joining us for our service tutorial session here. If you have any questions, any comments, you need some assistance, just leave us a message down below. We're always happy to help. We'll see you soon.